What is going on, everyone? You're also beloved and glorious MaceValor here again. Now, yeah, it's been a while, long while, since I sat down, made a video, edited, whatnot. But here it is today for you guys. And I figured, there's some interesting things going on in my life, some interesting subject matter. So I kind of wanted to take it down a notch. I wanted to discuss my life, my childhood, and actually this is going to turn into a playlist. So sit back, relax, let's just jump in. I want to tackle the subject of being bullied growing up and bullying in general. So I guess this playlist will consist of that. So this is one of many, mainly because they're just going to be easy to edit. Growing up, my whole life I was bullied, and it was pretty bad. It was to the point where I didn't really have any friends, very, very, very few. And I remember my best friend growing up, Corey, lived right next door to me. We still keep in touch, we're still pretty close. But, for years, he was really all I had. Probably had a couple people in elementary school, middle school that I would talk to. But I really, truly didn't actually have friends until my last 2 years of high school. I had that one person that was close to me. I probably dated here and there. Dated, as you can call it that when you're in like 6th grade or whatever. But I had, a fulfilling experience because of the people that I had that were close to me. But the problem that I had socially in school was I was made fun of a lot. And the roots of it all, there's a lot of home stuff going on that kind of contributed to that factor. To make a relatively long story short, my dad got custody of me when I was 3.5, 4 years old, around that time. And so I went from living with my biological mother to my mom and dad. My mom, the one who raised me, she's my mom. I don't consider her a stepmom or anything. To me, she's mom because she raised me. And if you're watching, I love you. But yeah, I was made fun of a lot. What really stemmed from it, outside of the home situation of being with my dad full time, getting to know this person that's going to be my mother, and then them having a child. It wasn't bad necessarily, it was just how I interpreted these things. It was really difficult for me, being so young, to go from one environment into another. And on top of that, having a new sibling and, being the older brother and stuff, and not just not understanding it entirely. Like, what did all of this mean? I was young, and I just didn't handle it the right way. But hey, who does when they're that age? Who truly gets it when you're 5, 6, 7 years old? It comes in time. You see, the main problem that I had with school was in 2nd grade. This teacher, Miss McCardle, oh wow, just not a very good teacher. Not good at all. She was kind of the person that was just there for the job. She wasn't necessarily there to be around kids, I guess. She wasn't very kid friendly. She wasn't very sensitive or any of that. The thing about Miss McCardle is that my parents, they were relatively active in my education. They were very involved. It wasn't like they dropped me off and picked me up kind of thing. Is that they wanted to make sure I was progressing properly. So what my mom and dad did was, at the time I was like on these antidepressant drops. I don't know if it was like some holistic thing or whatever, but we were trying everything we could to kind of get me together, because I was emotionally, behaviorally, I was just all over the place. So my mom had me take these drops in the morning. I take like 3 drops in some water, and it was supposed to help calm me down and stuff. And my mom and dad wanted to be transparent about things with my teacher. So they told Miss McCardle, like, hey, just so you know, he's taking these antidepressants. You spend a lot of time with him, or obviously at work, he's at school. Just, if periodically we'll come to you, see if there's any updates and you see his behavior or anything. Which, that's actually a very good thing, to be open and transparent with this person that's going to be around your kid for most of the day. So kudos to my mom and dad for even thinking of doing that in the first place. The thing that was unfortunate was that my teacher, every single morning when, right when we were taking roll, she would call my name, MaceValor, did you take your medication? And it just, at that age, kids don't really have an understanding of medication and whatnot. They think that there's 2 reasons why you would take medicine. Either you're hurt, or there's something just not going on in here, like you're crazy. And I wasn't physically ill, so these kids took it as me being mentally unstable. So I got teased a lot. And my behavior wasn't the best. It was bad. The way I handled it wasn't very good. That old adage of your parents telling you just ignore it. It's very bittersweet because it's very, very good advice, but the downside is it's extremely hard to implement. Even now, at 28 years old, about to be 29, I'm pushing 30, and it is one of the hardest things in the world to just let things go. My mom always used to say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And when you're young, it's like, you know that you're right, and as long as the other person concedes to the fact that you are right, you will then be happy. If I'm right, then I'm happy. You got to learn very early on that you're not always going to be right. You got to eat that humble pie, you got to suck it up, and you got to realize, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong every now and then. And that's something that I just never did. I would constantly challenge authority from one angle to another. Even if that light bulb would come off in my head, then I would just deflect. The moment that I would concede to myself internally, hey, I'm wrong in this scenario, or wow, maybe this other person's right, instead of verbalizing and communicating properly, saying, hey, you know what, my bad, I'm sorry, I would just fly off the handle. And it was rage is what it was. I was a very rageful child, and hey, to some extent I still am today, but I've found positive ways to cope with that, positive ways to deal with this internal struggle of managing my emotions. Doesn't always work. I sometimes just still get the world in my head, and it's like I know I shouldn't be self-centered, but I tend to be. I think that the whole world revolves around me from one angle or another, and it's a very crippling thing to have internally, to realize that the world is one way, but feel as if it's another. That was very true. Picking your own battles, Do I really want to go down this road? Do I really want to have this argument, this conversation with this person? Because I can see it's not going to go anywhere. But me, I'm still the same way that I used to be when I was a kid. It's like, let's talk. Let's talk this out. Let's hash it back and forth. I've always been of the mindset of let's have a conversation, right? And to me, it's like, all right, let's debate this topic. Let's put forth our evidences and whatnot. And when you're a kid, that's translated differently in your head, but that's essentially the end goal. It's like, let's try to compromise. But at the end of the day, it's never the case. No. So dumb, young Mace. So dumb. And the whole walking away thing was so hard for me. It really was. Getting made fun of, it was so hard to ignore when you're in the presence of it all the time. And, they would call me crazy and stuff. And it really got to me. And trying to turn it off when it was so constant was hard. And the thing is, the way that you just ignore it is by not reacting. Someone says something that might hurt your feelings. Literally, give them no reaction. You look at them and you're like, huh, okay. Like, if you just be, whatever. It's like, and they'll carry it on. They'll just keep going. They will. That's just how kids are. Kids are kids. So, what I should have done back then, with what I know now, is literally just, they get tired, they get bored. They are literally doing it for the reaction. And kids are very single-minded. They have a set goal. They go towards that goal. But if there's any kind of deviation from that goal, they'll ignore it and find a new one. They'll find new targets where they can. So for me, for example, if I was getting made fun of, called crazy, oh, you're on medicine, you're crazy, you're nuts, oh no, like all that stuff. If I would have just been like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever, man. And if I would have just really paid no mind to it, acknowledged the fact that, oh, you're speaking right now, oh, I don't like what you're saying, but instead of defend myself, being on the constant defense, I would have just taken a step back and been like, oh, whatever, right? Literally the whatever. mentality. If I would have just been like that, it would have been a night and day difference. I could have just been like, okay, whatever, instead of lashing out and defending, like, I'm not crazy, rah, start throwing desks and stuff. Like, no, that's not the right way to go, because all you're doing is you're reinforcing their sentiment. You're reinforcing what they're saying about you, and that's exactly what I did. That's why for so long it was so hard for me, because it was hard for me to make new friends because I had this stigma against me. Eventually what happened was, I might go into this some other time, but, well, I actually do have a video somewhere on the internet. I'll link to it if I can find it. But there is a video where I went into the story of Miss McCardle and leaving her class and all that. But I eventually left her class, and then over time, my aggression and rage never really took hold. And it was never able to get a grasp on it. So what ended up happening was, by behest of the school, who wanted to lobotomize me because I was a terror. I don't really think I caused much physical harm around me. There was one time in a rageful fit. I think I was in either first or second grade. I don't remember which grade it was. I don't even remember what grade I was in. It was either first or second. But Miss Douglas, this chick, man, she I had a lot of teachers that kind of went past the bounds. I was in class. It was this fun Friday thing. So we left our class, went to another teacher's class for the last hour of school, and we had to do some arts and crafts kind of thing. So I went to Miss Douglas's classroom, and we were, cutting out construction paper, taking these paper plates, drawing faces on them, and gluing them together and making a person. It was fun. So we're sitting down, and I'm with this kid I don't even know. And this is like in a weird time frame where I'm not super hardcore made fun of until after this. This is probably one of the biggest ones that contributed to kids getting fuel for the fire to make fun of me. And this had nothing to do with kids as much as it was how this teacher, if you even want to call this person that, reacted. So what happened was we're sitting down in her classroom, we're drawing faces on the paper plates, and this kid next to me, for whatever reason, takes his crayon and makes a big giant mark on my thing. And at the time, I think nothing of it. I didn't freak out about it. It's not the end of the world, right? Was I upset? Yeah, I was like, hey, this kid just drew on my thing. I didn't raise my hand and tattletale or anything like that. What I did is I just took my crayon and I made a mark on his. Now mine wasn't drastically as big, but it was visible. You could see it. It wasn't like I just did a little nick. I did a mark too, but it wasn't like across the whole paper plate, right, like he did me. This kid started crying, not like whining and whatever. He was visibly heartbroken, tears streaming down his face. He was so upset. So what the teacher did, and this is pretty nuts. She didn't call the office. She didn't call the principal or anything like that. She saw what I did and, was like, hey, what's going on? And the kid's like, he drew on my paper. And before I even had a defense to be like, well, he drew on mine first, which is, what I would have said. That was the situation. He drew on mine first, so I drew on his. What she did is she grabbed me. She grabbed me by the hand. It's like, well, we're going back to your teacher. She left her classroom unattended with a bunch of children in it. It was probably about 25, 30 kids, right? All about 6, 7 years old. Left them unattended, dragged me out of the classroom. And me, I had a thing about being touched. It's like, you tell me to go with you, I'll go with you. But she didn't even tell me that. She just grabbed me. And I started freaking out. So as she's trying to grab me to pull me out, I'm flailing like, whoa, let go of me, let go of me, let go of me. So she picks me up by my arms like this, and she's carrying me, and we're downfield, and my classroom's on the other side of the school. So we're walking back. She's carrying me back to my classroom, and my legs are flailing the whole time, and they were kicking her shins, and it was bad. Oh boy. So that eventually got to my classroom, and details were kind of fuzzy from there, but I remember seeing the teacher later on, and her legs were messed up. They were bruised bad, and nothing ever came from it that I know of. I probably had to talk to my mom about this. She would have more on the story because she had to actually deal with it. But it's not like my family got sued or anything, because this is And you'll notice this when you watch this in the playlist. There were multiple times where the establishment that I was going for my education failed. There was multiple times where I had teachers or, staff that were non-security or anything like that, just teachers and whatnot, that would put hands on me to try to handle me. So when it comes to, eventually I was in this thing called a special day class where, they put the problem students or the people with learning disabilities. It was usually kids with learning disabilities, but you had a handful of kids that had like an anger problem or this, that, and the other. And it was so hard for me because that made me even made fun of even more, because you see me with everyone else and then you see me in the class with people that are mentally challenged. Like there were some kids in the classroom that were just not with it. And it was hard, because then not only was I called crazy, but then I was called stupid. Well, not stupid. I was a very smart kid. I was very bright. I picked up on mathematics, science, history, like the academics I picked up relatively easily. It was not a problem for me. Academically, I was great. I was smart. I was very inclined on a lot of different levels at a young age. But I just had this extreme disinterest in school. Because of the social aspect. And the social aspect of school is extremely important. And that made it very hard being in these special day classes. That happened, I remember very vividly, Miss Crawford's class, RIP. Miss Crawford, you were amazing. You dealt with so much BS on my behalf, but thank you for sticking it out with me anyway. When I went to the special day class for the first time, I was in class, and I don't remember if it was a substitute. I think it was a substitute that we had that day or something. Might have been. But, so there was this kid. Here's the thing. You always remember the names of people for some reason. This kid's name was Chris. I can even remember what he looked like. Blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever. And this kid was just a punk. And for whatever reason, I never had an issue before. Like, I would get teased here and there. But it wasn't really that bad. This kid, man. He would not stop calling me by the wrong name. He would not keep, instead of saying like, oh, Mace, he'd say Mac. And I was like, dude, you're annoying me. You're really annoying me. And I was like, stop. And because you're saying stop, that encourages them to do it more. Because then it's like, then they know that they're pushing your buttons. So he just kept calling me Mac. Oh, Mac. Yeah, that's your name. Your name is spelled funny. And it got to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore. I threw a desk. I stood up, picked up, and threw my desk. They weren't attached to the chairs. And it's like, I'm not laughing because it was funny. I'm laughing because it's like, where was my mind back then? Like, something so trivial, something so petty that it got into me, And so many times I let other things take power over me. And that's when enough was enough. And something had to be done. So I was put into a special day class. I even actually had an aide. There was an aide for the school that had to follow me around. Shout out to Sandy. Wow, you had to deal with some stuff, and I thank you. You were definitely a contributing member to who I am today, and I appreciate it very much so. But yeah, there was a lot of things that I went through, but thanks to a good influence of adults that I had in my life, I really made it. And the reason why I say it is because I'm here now. My life is the way that it is now because of these people. Not to say that it never really got easy until later on in high school. It kind of seemed to get worse in some areas, but I had those people that were close enough to me that, the people that, even though I wouldn't reach out as much, these people, like, they loved me. They cared about me. They wanted me to succeed. So because of these people in my life, it helped me push forward. So thank you for that. And the special day class it wasn't bad, but because of the academics being toned down, because most of the kids in the classroom, they just were bad at math or bad at reading, bad at spelling. They just didn't get it. And for me, I would be able to finish my work quickly. If for 2 years, 4th and 5th grade, I'm in these special day classes, and I'm like losing my mind. There's nothing challenging about it. And I'm just in this class with these kids. I finished the work way ahead of them. I finished the homework because, I don't think we barely even had homework. And it was like, what am I doing here? And I thought that things were going to be good, but things got kind of all over the place. They did start to get a little better, though. I did start to find a circle of friends. There were some interesting things that I experienced in the following years, but there was also some challenges that I just never thought that I would have to face. And that came with middle school. And middle school was, it was one heck of a ride. I'm not going to lie. It was definitely something else. On one hand, middle school was a cakewalk. And on the other hand, it was one of the biggest tribulations of my entire academic experience. But we'll check that out in the next one on the playlist. So, as always, show so beloved and glorious MaceValor. Thank you guys for dropping by. I do realize a couple housekeeping things right quick. I realize that a lot of my fans are here for one of two reasons. The gig economy stuff or the HVAC stuff. Obviously, I don't do HVAC anymore. So for all of those of you guys that are wondering, why is he making this weird video? I'm sorry. Long story, just watch the live stream. I try to live stream as much as I can, so hit the notification bell. God, wow, I'm just chilling out right now, but hey, that's the best way. Yeah, just hit me up, and I have a Discord server, so I love to talk to people. There's a lot of people that like they reach out to me, so this is, think of this end card, this part of the video is me saying, hey, you need someone to talk to. I'm not there 24/7, but close. I try to talk to people as much as I can. I do love interacting with my fan base, because yeah, I do like to think of this as my way of reaching out to the world. And when the world reaches back, I don't mind grabbing that hand. So, as always, this is your oh so glorious and beloved MaceValor.